Hello everyone. Nothing too spicy for you today. I've just had multiple requests to cover the Tallinn, especially since, well, I am grinding a new account, so this is one of the last few games that I had left on the CC account before it was removed. And since I've now started grinding some of the new ships, including the Tallinn, I keep getting a lot of requests on how to play this thing. How the hell do you play Tallinn? Well, the build that you obviously want to be running for, or the build that I highly prefer, is of course one where you have both Conceal and RPF. The reason for this is, if you look at the minimap, you can see that I have 11.4 km concealment, but I have a 12 kilometer radar. This means, of course, I have access to stealth radar, something that, well, everyone thinks is a terrible idea, and something Wargaming said that they were trying to move away from, and then they introduced the Soviet cruisers, and they basically introduced it right back into the game, regardless of whatever they told us earlier. But since it is in the game, this is obviously something you want to utilize. Some people think that because the Soviet radar is short, it's not powerful, but that is just a big mistake. With RPF you can easily line up your shots, and with stealth radar you can always radar at the right time, and the information that it gives you can be extremely vital. Tallinn though, they recently buffed the penetration on the ship. I didn't think it was necessary, but obviously this means that the Tallinn now has the best AP pen of all tier 8 cruisers. In fact, it has better AP pen than many of the tier 10 cruisers like Des Moines and Hindenburg and so forth. It also has improved pen angles on the AP, and it has short fuse on the AP. So obviously this all means that you want to be using the AP as much as possible. I switch to HE, I pop Hydro, RPF is pointing into B, I know there's a DD here, so I carefully crawl up and hope that I get spotted. Because if I get spotted, that means there is a DD within my stealth radar range and I can instantly reset him. So we wait. Oh, spotted, instantly radar, and there's the Bliska right in front of my face. That is the power of a stealth radar, and that is why stealth radar is fundamentally a really poor design, because it doesn't offer any counterplay to DDs. There was no way the Bliska could have really avoided that. No way he could have really scouted me out without being detected, so he was basically doomed to eat all that damage. And while this was happening, the Z-23 pushed up with the Hydro, so obviously I'm just gonna chill and look for additional opportunities to deal damage to him. Because ultimately DDs win games, and if I can kill off any of the DDs, we will have a much higher chance of winning this game. He's reversing behind the island, and I don't want to be sitting too stationary for too long, because the Tallinn is quite vulnerable. I do help the DD pick up the Bliska, which unlocks B and should allow him to secure it. The enemy Tallinn, however, seems to be playing fairly aggressive, so I'm going to see if I can punish him. Despite the advantages of the Tallinn, which is actually pretty damn good AA for the tier, extremely powerful guns, stealth radar, it is quite vulnerable. It is quite easy to citadel, and it's very clumsy. So I would say that Tallinn as a cruiser is quite challenging to play. It's not, well, all cruisers tend to be quite challenging, but Tallinn in particular, because you really want to close the distance to get the most out of that AP, whereas the hull itself doesn't really like when you close the distance. You become exponentially more vulnerable when you close the distance. So trying to get close to the enemy can be extremely challenging. In this case though, I'm trying to switch to HE here, using my torpedoes. Keep in mind, whenever you're uncertain how fast is a ship moving, you can switch to the torpedoes to get an idea. And is he slowing down, is he accelerating, and it helps you lead the shots. In this case though, Mayhem turns away, dodges the vast majority of my shells. Priority target tells me no one is aiming at me yet, so I'm gonna go for as many shots as I can, hopefully helping my team pick up this Mayhem kill, because once again, killing a DD is so very important, especially in the early game when many DDs play far too aggressively. They should be playing safer, but they basically tend to overextend. Mayhem dodges even the last volley. I'm gonna try to get one more off. I am being targeted now though, and I think it is the Tirpitz. I'm angled towards him, but I think it's starting to be time to disengage from here. I'd really like to pick up the Mayhem, and I actually managed to pick up the kill with that volley, and that's very important because that means 3 of their 4 DDs are dead. This gives us a great tactical advantage. Tirpitz is secondary build. Obviously, we don't want to be sitting around in his secondary build with the new secondary changes. It's not like the secondaries are particularly accurate or particularly scary, but I mean, if you sit there long enough, the damage will rack up. And the Tallinn does not have a heal, since it is a tier 8 cruiser and not a premium, so it does not have a heal, so you do want to be disengaging as soon as possible. In this case, I'm keeping my guns turned, because I can see my Z23 push up, so I know that he will be engaging the Kagero quite soon, and I want to be in a position where I can support him. The first volley, unfortunately, not that accurate, and he instantly smokes up. Trying to get some follow-up damage, trying to do as much damage as possible to this Kagero, even if it means eating some hits from this Tirpitz, because if I kill their last DD, we have such a high chance of winning this game, and this is generally what you want to be aiming for. I popped the radar to keep him lit for a couple more seconds, but the dispersion and his dodging allows him to come out completely unscratched, or unscathed, sorry, that's the English word. He makes a full turn, which is a big mistake, something you generally don't want to do, and I do score some hits, but he doesn't manage to disengage, and that means their Kagero does get away. The problem here now is that my Z23 might go down, so I switch to AP. Full broadside Tirpitz means that the AP will be doing a lot of damage. However, he's close enough that his secondaries will do a lot of work, and even Tirpitz's guns can be quite scary when you have no heal. So obviously we start disengaging at this point. We maintain the angling whenever he shoots, but the rest of the time we try to do any damage that we can, and the goal is of course to disengage behind the island. Note that I do not damage on a single fire. That's not something you ever want to be doing, especially with a hipper hull, because you might lose engine, you might lose steering, there are all sorts of things that can go wrong. The base build on the ship is priority target, adrenaline rush, concealment expert, RPF. That is fundamentally all I think that you need to make this ship shine, and that's basically all the important parts. It looks like the Tirpitz is slowing down to pick a fight. He can't really shoot past this. I think he's starting to focus on the ships in front of him. I'm being careful to make sure I don't accidentally give him too much broadside. The carrier is keeping me spotted, which is a bit frustrating. I accelerate in case he shoots me. I don't want to be caught. It looks like he is going for the shot, so it's time to accelerate behind the island and disengage. Now, the problem is, while I've been making sure that their DDs die, my own DDs have also been dying. And in fact, the score is tied when it comes to ship kills. They have 3 DDs dead, we have 3 DDs dead, and our Farragut is taking a really worrying path towards that Tirpitz. There comes a time when many DDs decide that for some reason they absolutely have to YOLO and kill someone. And this case, the Tirpitz is alone in the center of a cap. He's a free kill. He's got nowhere to run. He's caught. He will guaranteed die. But my Farragut decides that no, he absolutely must sacrifice his ship to kill him. You see this quite often. The DD himself thinks this is a great trade. Haha, I killed it. I'll kill a tier 8 battleship. But ultimately he doesn't realize that at the same time he threw away our last and only destroyer. He does kill the Tirpitz, but once again, it's still not a good trade. However, I'm so used to the average player base doing these things that I already predicted that this was going to start leaking, and I've turned around and I'm pushing north. In the north they have both a Sinop and a Helena, but I only consider these obstacles because I'm looking at the way the Ranger is sending planes and the way the Ranger is sailing. I'm hoping for an opportunity to get the carrier kill, because if we do manage to kill their carrier with 2 caps, well, provided the Kagero doesn't get the cap. Actually, my team gives up the cap entirely, so this is becoming even more critical that I basically make a play. And since my entire team is not really accomplishing a whole lot south, I'm trying to look for this play in the north. The idea here is, of course, to ambush the Helena. I don't want to shoot the Sinop, because I know RPF is telling me that the Helena is on the other side of these islands. And if I shoot the Sinop now, the Helena will be able to pick the fight from behind the island. Basically, he'll be able to farm me, and Helena does a lot of damage. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get an ambush, and the Helena pops out, and I get exactly the ambush I was looking for. And note that Sinop is going behind the island, so I can keep going fairly straight, and the Sinop will not have any shots on me because the island is blocking him. Helena closes in. Obviously, I instantly turn away. Helena is a light American cruiser, which means he has excellent firepower close range, so we want to maintain the distance at all costs. We will outtrade him with our heavy AP very, very easily. He tries to use all his guns, and that's a costly mistake to make against the Tallinn, and I managed to pick up the kill. At this point, I am ready to start shooting the Synop, because he's, just like the Tirpitz earlier, very preoccupied with the ships in front of him. So I'm going to try to do as much damage on him as I can, while at the same time turning in and trying to ambush the carrier. The carrier seems to start to realize that, this northern position he's chosen isn't actually as safe as he thought, and he will start striking me. But once again, Tallinn does have surprisingly good AA for its tier. Not enough to defend yourself against the carrier, of course. Wargamer doesn't like that. But enough to actually shoot down some of the planes that will be harassing you. Rocket planes try to come back, but I'll have that sector reinforced again if need be. Actually, I think I might be... Ooh, I'm too focused. Misplay. I reinforced it now, but I could have reinforced it sooner. That was a few seconds late. Not paying attention to the cooldown because I'm trying to do as much damage as I can to the Synop. Still, misplay. Should have popped it instantly. Might have reduced the damage I took by that couple of hundred. We keep the damage up on the Synop though. The improved pen angles allows me to farm the Synop even slightly angled as it is. And it is now down to a 6 versus 5. Still a problem though, because my ships are kind of spread all over the place. And if you look at my carrier, I'm pinging him, trying to get him to disengage, but he is overextending big time, and securing this ranger kill became even more important. The carrier goes down. For some reason he wasn't paying attention to the minimap, and he kind of sailed into the waiting hands of the enemy. However, so at this point I know their enemy carrier is going to be resetting my battleships who try to cap B. As you can see, the Monarch tries to cap, he's going to get bombed, and the cap's going to get reset, and that's going to keep happening. So killing this ranger is a priority, and him wasting time on the Monarch might be all the time that I need to finally catch up to him and to ambush him. I come around the island, and this is the time where I really hope I will get vision of him, because if he's not here, he's already running behind the islands, and it will become very difficult. RPF points, I'm going straight. I need to get the cap as well. The idea is to secure both things, both the cap and the ranger. But if the ranger is just parked behind the island or fleeing, I actually catch sight of him. He is trying to flee. He was probably in the cap, but now he's trying to run away. But he's not doing it fast enough. I can see him accelerating, but he is caught enough broadside that those improved pen angles of the Tallinn are able to get damage in. And even better, my Nuremberg chimes in and actually helps me deal damage to this ranger. I catch him with another citadel, and I manage to pick up the carrier kill. There's AP coming in, but I saw it coming thanks to priority target, so I'm already turning. It does reset me, but that's not that important because I don't believe there's any way that they can reset my cap. The problem, however, is that the Kagero has gone down into A and secured A for their team after killing the ranger, or killing our carrier, sorry. So we are still down. Well, we're up on points and we're up on ships, but in terms of positioning, we're in trouble. The Monarch is about to go down. The Lazo is pushing up far too close range for a Lazo, and the Ismail is, well, he's an Ismail. If he plays well, he's hard to kill. If he gives the slightest broadside, he will explode. I see that the Queen Elizabeth guns are turned away, so I don't hesitate to shoot, because it will take him so long to turn his guns that he will not have time to reset me. So I'll try to do as much damage as I can while I secure this northern cap for my team. We get the cap, which is exactly what we needed, but A gets flipped by the Kagero as well. And at this point, it's race against the time. I need to somehow reinforce my team, and my team are in huge trouble. Monarch is dying. Lazo, not surprisingly, he's put himself with the enemy on the left and an island on his right, which means he can't angle or disengage, so he will guaranteed go down very soon. Ismail is deciding to follow him into the cap, which means he's going to be stuck in that same situation, and you have to keep in mind they still have that Kagero, who will no doubt be chiming into this battle quite soon. So I need to get there as soon as possible to provide a crossfire and to catch the Kagero. However, the poor positioning of my teammates is costing them quite badly right now. The Lazo is down to 1000 health, and the Monarch, the Kagero, chimes in as expected, and the Monarch goes down to his torpedoes. We do take down the Queen Elizabeth in return, but I don't think the Lazo is long for this world. In fact, he gets taken out as well. So we're down to a 3 versus 3. The important thing here would be Ismail angling, but he can only turn in, not away, because of his positioning, which means Veneto is going to get to shoot his broadside. And Ismail Citadel is big and vulnerable, and Ismail gets chunked down very low as well, which means that we are in serious trouble. Luckily, he gets a good hit in on Veneto, but it's not going to be enough to kill him, and I know that Ismail will die soon, which means that it's going to be a 2 versus 3, except my Nuremberg is sadly choosing a rather poor position. He's putting the island between himself and the enemy team, which would be good if he could shoot over it, but I think he's going to struggle. I do catch the Galician at full broadside just as my Ismail dies, and now it's a race. I need to get up to this island before the Vittorio Veneto comes around the island. If the Veneto comes around the island, he will be able to chunk me extremely hard, and I might get stuck in a crossfire between the Galicianiere and the Veneto. So this is a time to rush. The scores are fairly even. They still have a lead. Killing the Galicianiere will give us the lead, but I still have a Kagero to deal with, and I still have the Veneto that is no doubt healing coming around the left hand side. I pick up the Galicianiere. My Hydra picks up the torpedoes. This is Kagero torpedoes, so I know he's somewhere on that side. I can't turn out too much because I have to maintain angling and I have to get behind the island before the Veneto can shoot me. I drop preemptive torps in case I somehow mess up the shot, or in case he keeps pushing aggressively and I can just hide behind the island entirely. My first hit gets caught by the hitbox, but I managed to keep the island between us, making him hesitate to shoot, and this gives me an opportunity to shoot a second time. And that Tallinn AP, powerful enough to Citadel even a tier 8 battleship at that range. I damage con the fire, because I know I'm going to get undetected when I glide in behind the island. I make a very slow turn. The slower you turn, the tighter your turning circle, because I don't want to disengage too far from this Kagero, because I know he's too close right now. He's still within my radar. I carefully turn my guns, so that when I come around this corner, my guns will be turned, and hopefully he will spot me, which means I can stealth radar him in return. And that's exactly what happens, and the Kagero is caught with his pants down at 9.6 kilometers. The first volley starts a fire, he damage cons, and that's when I know if I get a fire this volley, that is all it's going to take to secure this game. He turns away, trying to angle, but at this range the shells are so fast, and I do in fact start a fire on him as well, which means that there's absolutely nothing he can do, and I can just wait for the fire to tick out and finish the Kagero kill. 154,000 damage, not really that much in terms of damage dealt, but in terms of effective kills and effective positioning, this was basically a textbook Tallinn game. This was looking for 1 versus 1 fights against ships you can fight, trying to avoid ships that you know that you're going to struggle with, like the Tirpitz or the Sinop and so forth, basically not picking fights that you can't win. And when the time came for it, the high aggression, and of course using the speed of the ship and the AA of the ship to go after the carrier, which probably helped us secure the win, because if the carrier had been running away towards the end and striking us, it would have been extremely hard to turn this into a victory. Confederate, Kraken and High Caliber, basically all the damage dealt rewards. Team score wise, he was a 3.1k base. My Nuremberg gets special credit, even though his positioning might have been sketchy, surviving in a tier 6 Nuremberg in tier 8 matchmaking and coming second on the scoreboard is extremely commendable. Less commendable is my DDs, who of course all suicided in the very first minutes, which seems to be very common. Still though, a solid carry of a game. Detailed report wise, well, the majority of the shells we fired were AP, because obviously that is the strength of the Tallinn. If someone tells you that the Tallinn is bad because the HE isn't strong, you can just tell them that, well, mate, you have absolutely no idea how to play this ship. And overall, a bit of HE, mostly on DDs of course, and some potential damage, only 900,000. We did take some incoming damage as well, but we made sure to angle against the majority of the AP, and this is very, very important because the Tallinn is a squishy ship. I won't bother going over the build because it's pretty straightforward. The priorities that you really want to go for is priority target, adrenaline rush, concealment expert, and RPF. I love that combo of builds because priority target lets you know if someone is targeting you, and of course RPF lets you know where to point your guns in preparation for the stealth radar. I would recommend getting expert loader as well because both HE and AP is useful in different situations, so being able to switch between those is very important. I will talk to you guys most likely tomorrow because there's a bunch of new ships that I will be going over, and they are questionable to say the least. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.